I performed in one of the first minimal techno concerts in Ireland, if not the first, with a little help from two friends of mine, Kieran and Ben. I managed to get a gig in the ESB substation on Caroline Street in Cork. And, I was kind of dabbling in electronic music, managed to get a set together, and, you know, went down and played, got a great crowd. The man who deserves the credit for me getting going and getting started in electronic music is a German musician called Bernhard Guenter. Bernhard is quite an incredible musician, but also has appeared on a compilation album with Ryoji Ikeda. One of my biggest influences in minimal techno, and minimal techno is a kind of a new music, but one of my biggest influences, basically two brothers had a band in Germany in the mid 1970s, early to mid 1970s, called the Seesselbergs, and they were working on kind of modular synths, creating incredible music. They have an iconic album called Synthetik, highly influential to me. Also, in terms of minimal techno, Ryoji Ikeda is influential, and Ryuichi Sakamoto is also influential, particularly his B2 unit. And but the kind of two main guys who would be really, really influential and would be the kind of titans of the minimal techno scene. One would be Frank Bretschneider. Frank is originally from the Deutschland Demokratische Republic, which is East Germany. He's from a place called Karl-Marx-Stadt, which is now called Chemnitz. That's where he grew up. And then you kind of think, like, what were his influences? Because East Germany is very different psychologically, psyche, everything, socio-economic from West Germany. And his influences were basically Soviet science fiction, dadism, and stuff like that. But like you're talking about like the Warsaw Pact, Doctor Who, as a seminal influence for Frank. But they were able to get tapes. So kind of they could almost get anything that they wanted to. It's just that like they couldn't kind of walk in and pick stuff up. They kind of had to, it was kind of a bit of a lucky dip kind of thing. But also there's another chap called Carsten Nicolai, Alvanota, and he has the distinction of having played with Ryoichi Sakamoto and Ryoji Ikeda. He's performed and recorded with both of those guys. He has done installations also because his influences are very different. I mean, he's influenced by art, particularly Joseph Albers, and like that's kind of exemplified in his art, in his installations. They're not as gargantuan and prodigious as Ryoji Ikeda, but they are very, very good. And he does have installations all over Europe and America. And he's done some very, very influential recordings. Now, we have a compilation album coming up called Electronic Music Volume 1. Now, this features 3 albums redolent of the aforementioned influences. Electro, electronic music, and electronic music or electronic rhythms volume 1. These 3 albums are elements of this, tracks from this have been curated by Daniel Santini, the boss of Tibrod Italy, and he's curated these for the compilation album. Now, so the albums themselves individually feature, they have got elements of minimal techno as well as other influences, but the prominent influence would be minimal techno, and they're worthy of having a listen. Electronic Music Volume 1 should be out shortly, but in the interim, maybe you could have a listen to Electronic Music, and Electronic Rhythms Volume 1. These three albums are the favourites, amongst the favourites of Daniel Santini, and they're also three of mine. Thank you very much for listening.